Welcome to my Bivariate presentation. My title is Public Opinions and China's International Role. My focus is on how Chinese public thinks China should react on a global stage, and what leads to these public opinions. Public opinions are divided into two parts. Some think that China should react cooperatively, but others think China should react according to its own preference. My basic rationale behind my research is that, firstly, I believe that China is a quite cooperative and peaceful country. She is not a hegemon, but a very peaceful and a cooperative member among all countries. China's President Hu Jintao has once argued in a UN speech that the Chinese public also wants a peaceful and cooperative government representing its people internationally. Moreover, the attitude of the public is important to how the government decides to react to different situations on the global stage. Finally, I'm from China, and I'm quite interested in a survey like this, which I may have little chance of access back in China. The source of data in the survey is the CCFR 2006 China Codebook on the POL242 course website, and the total number of respondents is 2,000. My dependent variable here is the question 15, asking how the public thinks China should react within the UN when facing international problems. China can either be more cooperative or arbitrary. I renamed my question here the public opinions, and I recoded the dependent variable into two categories, agree and disagree. Don't know and not applicable answer was recoded into the missing value. I ran the frequency test and I found that the majority of the respondents, 77%, agrees with the statement that China will sometimes have to go along with the policy that is not its first choice within the UN, which means the public supports a more cooperative China. So my research question here is that what determines this majority of agreement? I've chosen three independent variables to measure the dependent variable, which is the public opinion. The three independent variables are education levels, total household income, and the regions that people come from. In my first hypothesis, the education level is my first independent variable. I recoded into three categories: low level, medium, and a high level of education. I recorded the don't know and not applicable answer into the missing value. So the hypothesis is that people having higher education levels tend to support a more cooperative role of China, as people have more knowledge, know more about the significance of being cooperative internationally. I ran the bivariate cross-tabulation. As we can see, there are 87% of people with high education chose the agree answer, which is the highest among three education categories, while there are 15% of respondents with low education level chose disagree answer, which is the highest percentage among disagree answers. The result corresponds to my hypothesis, but in the Kramer's V test, the result is 0.03, which means there is a very weak relationship between them. And the result of chi-square also means the output is not statistically significant, and the relationship is likely due to chance. So my hypothesis here is not supported by the test. My own explanation is that my two other variables may explain the majority of agreement, the household incomes levels, and the regions that the people come from. In my second hypothesis, the independent variable is the total household income for 2005 before taxes. I recoded the original 6 categories into 3 categories: low, average, and high income levels. Don't know and not applicable was recoded into the missing value. My second hypothesis is that people having higher income are more likely to have more chance and time to see the outside world, and tend to have a more open political stance than people with low income. In my second bivariate cross-tabulation, the output again corresponds to my hypothesis. 88% of high-income respondents chose the agree answer, which is the highest among 3 categories, but the highest percentage, 70% for disagree answer, was chosen by low-income respondents. However, again the Kramer's V test result is 0.06, which means the relationship between them is very weak. and the result of chi-square also shows a not very satisfying result, 0.05. The relationship is made due to chance. It is not statistically significant. In my third hypothesis, the independent variable is the region respondents come from in China. It has three categories and there are no records. My third hypothesis is that respondents from more eastern part of China tend to support a more cooperative China, as eastern China is the most developed and open area in entire China. People from there are more knowledgeable about the international cooperation than those come from western China. In the third bivariate cross-tabulation, as we can see, the output corresponds to my hypothesis, with a very high percentage. 89% of East District respondents chose the agree answer, while West District respondents have 19.6% of them choosing disagree answers, which is the highest percentage for disagree answers. Although the Kramers-Wheat result shows a very weak relationship between the two variables, the result of chi-square shows that the relationship is statistically significant. Therefore, it is a weak relationship that can exist in the broad population. So in conclusion, my first and second hypotheses are not supported by the test. However, in my third hypothesis, the relationship between the regions and the public opinions is weakly substantiated. So I can be reasonably sure that this weak relationship exists in the broader population. In terms of the future questions and research, since three of my hypotheses are very weak to measure the dependent variable, so I believe there are other independent variables that may determine the outcomes in the question 15. For example, the Chinese culture, especially Confucianism, which focused on peace and love, may influence the public's decision in the question 15. Also, the lack of political enthusiasm can influence the outcome in the question 15, as Chinese publics now focus more on economic well-being rather than political hegemony on a global stage. This is my essential syntax in my research, and this is my last slide. Thanks for watching.